Okay, so firstly, who actually here wants to get jacked? Like, okay, so we got everyone. Yeah, that's a pretty good fucking start. So you better all listen. So when you see this guy, I want to know, what do you guys first think, and what are your like first thoughts when you see this person?
Low testosterone.
Yeah, low test.
No discipline.
No discipline.
No motivation.
No motivation.
Not happy.
Not happy. Lazy. Yeah. Lazy.
Weakness.
Broke. Weakness. Yeah, exactly. And then when you see this guy, what like pops into your mind?
Confidence.
Confidence.
Chat.
Chat.
Gets women.
Gets women. He for sure gets women.
Makes money.
Makes money. Yeah.
Leader.
Leader. 100%. Anything else?
High test.
Eye test. Charismatic, yeah, for sure. Now you see this guy again, and he says he has a net worth of 10 million. How do you now think of him? How do you now perceive him? Still a bit, he's probably made it off NFTs, won the lottery. Anything else?
Software company.
Software company.
Mom's basement.
Mum's basement. Winning the lottery in his mum's basement. Okay, and today, boys, I'm going to be teaching you how to get financially stacked and physically jacked. So a few of the boys later, they'll be talking about how to get financially stacked, but I want you to put you in the best position to be the person that can do the actions and to be the person that can feel like he wants to be that. And like, obviously, that's me there, looking absolutely fucking shredded. 2.7 million in the funded and share account. That's not my account, and that is my state. But we'll get there, 100%. And a bit of background on me, I've transformed over 200 guys. These are a few of the guys I've transformed. It's a bit of an old photo, that one. I've done over 2,000 coaching hours and 5+ years of training knowledge. A pro bodybuilder in the UK, obviously amateur, I'm not on roids. And then I've completed a marathon with zero training. I said to my friend on the Monday that we'd run it, and we ran it on the Thursday. I did a 100K run, swim and climb, the 6th peak of Hong Kong, which is the hardest peak in Hong Kong, the only one that isn't race legal. I placed top 40 whilst fasting at this Spartan race that people train for ages. I just saw that it was on, managed to get a last minute ticket, and then just went down in the morning and ran it in a pair of Air Forces. And then I scaled my business to multiple 6 figures a year more recently. And these are some photos of me. This is in Hong Kong, Spartan race, bodybuilding, marathon, boxing match by knockout in the first round. And that's like kind of my transformation at the top. So today's mission, transform your body and achieve peak performance in the next 90 to 180 days. Does that sound good to everyone? Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is straight from the New World Thesis, but I wanted to read it out because I think it applies to a lot of you guys here. You define yourself as a high achiever, have already seen some success in online business, but feel like a piece of the puzzle is missing. You don't want to be a commodity and be outcompeted by 16-year-olds copying your strategy. Know that business you've built is just a stepping stone to something greater than yourself. Have the desire to build an empire, something that people will admire, show gratitude for decades. Want to have your dream body, but can't seem to make much progress or find the time away from business. Seeking elite status and being in a wolf pack with actual A players. You want to find the 11 out of 10 dream wife and build a fulfilling relationship. Everyone's on the mission to be that guy. All of us are in this room because we're on that mission to be that guy. And then, like, before we go on, like, there's 58 million millionaires in the world. Like, would you disagree or agree that there's a multi-millionaire that owns a bigger business than you, has a busier schedule than you, and is in better shape than you? Put your hand up if you agree. Okay, so everyone fucking agrees. So we all have the time then to get in shape, and we all want to get in shape. And you're on the mission to be that guy. Because in the world where everyone has the same information, strategies and business models, straight from the New World Thesis again, and everyone's doing the exact same things, the founder is the most important point of the business. And like an actual online business can be split into 4. So the founder, the owner and the core change agent within the business, the model, the way of creating delivery and capturing value, the strategy, and basically the plans and the long-term overall goals of the business, the resources, the capital, information, tech, and people. But if you see, it all revolves around the founder. And that's because the most important thing goes down to the founder because we all have the information on the model, the strategy, and the resources. So the model can be visualized like this. So the model is the frame of the car, the strategy is the steering wheel, the resources are the fuel, and the founder is the driver. So basically, the business strategy, model, resources, all those sort of things are the car, and the founder is the race driver. And if we put a granny in a Ferrari and we smacked her on the racetrack, like, what do you guys think would happen?
She'd crash.
She'd crash. She wouldn't even fucking make it round. Go really slow. She's either going to crash or die, or go really slow. But if we put Lewis Hamilton in a Fiat 500 and we smack him on a racetrack, he'd just fucking absolutely slam that Fiat as much as he could and get it round the racetrack as fast as possible. And who do you think would win? Lewis Hamilton in a Fiat 500 or the granny in the Ferrari?
Lewis.
100%. So everyone has the Ferrari. Like, if you go back here, we all have the strategies. We've all been told them 100 times. Information is so widely available now. Resources are so widely available. We all probably started on minimal capital. I know I didn't start with anything. You can become a closer, you can become a setter. And yes, you might invest in a mentorship, but before you do that, you'll probably build the capital from just doing that. So the actual resources themselves are even widely available. So the actual Ferrari doesn't matter anymore. We all have the Ferrari. Everyone has the potential to instantly access that Ferrari. But the founder is what's unique. The founder is why we're all here. The reason why we're all here and all the other people that have access to all this other information is because we have put in the inputs that needed to be put in to allow us to use this information, the models, the strategies, the resources that we all have available to get us here now. And this is what you see all over the fucking world. The actual founders that have put in place their life and their performance are in this position. Alex Hormozi, dialed the fuck it. Chris Williamson, dialed it. Iman Gadzi, Andy Elliott. If you haven't got abs, get the fuck off this stage. So the excellent founder equals money. The excellent founder equals actual business success. And then that then results in girls, status, confidence, self-respect, and network. And like, why do you guys think that even network is based from being an excellent founder?
I mean, because we didn't have respect for the guy who looks sloppy.
Exactly, right? So that is basically, this is why it needs to happen. Because we are the drivers of the Ferrari. And whether we're the drivers of a Fiat right now or whatever, we're still the drivers. And if you put the granny, yeah, go for it.
I also think that goes back to like caveman stages, you know, when like the fucking most jacked guy in the tribe was doing all the hunting and shit.
Well, 100%, it actually genuinely does link back to that, and I've actually looked at the research of that. Basically, how it would work is we are all tribal animals, so we still have this tribal brain, and we're always fighting to be part of the pack. And we're always assessing every single person within the pack to see whether we want them in the pack, to see whether we should respect them in the pack. This is Tamir's mastermind. People are showing respect to Tamir through here. He's the fucking bigger boss here, I guess, at the moment. And like, people are constantly doing this to each other, whether you know it or not. You're constantly assessing who's on what level, how much attention you should pay to each person, because that's what we would have done. Like, as a caveman, you would always be assessing what's around you because you'd want to be in the safest possible position. You'd want to be in the best possible position. You'd be thinking of surviving. And that comes down to the status. That's where status comes from. And that comes down to the actual respect from that status. And then obviously, if you're the fucking man hunting the boars, bringing them back, you're going to get the cheekers from that. Okay, so the mistakes I made. So there's a few mistakes I made. And like, firstly, is everyone confident that the founder is the key to the puzzle for success? Put your hand up if you believe the founder's the piece of the puzzle. Okay, awesome. So we've smashed that up. And so a few of the mistakes I made. There's a few mistakes you could do. So firstly, there was like, I've done the whole thing where you overly focus with my boxing match. I focused so much on that boxing match that I didn't build a business. So like going over the top with your physique, going over the top with getting in shape to the point where you're actually not focusing on the other areas of life that put you in the position where you can get the girls' status, be an excellent founder, and actually be the person that fucking drives like a maniac. So if you're just obviously focusing purely on your physical appearance, you're going to lose sight of other things. So I'm not telling you guys here today, just stop your business and just go be a gym bro. That's not what it's about. The second thing I've done is actually neglect my personal health to then focus on the business. So smoking, yeah, I've done that. You might think, oh, fucking performance coach smoking, that's wild. But smoking, drinking, like even like partying and stuff, but then in the day, just purely being on the business, coffees, like not eating right, all these sort of things, not taking any supplements, just trying to smash out as much work. But that put me in the position where I just would burn out week on week. I'd feel absolute shit. Like towards the end of the week, I'd be fine because you're stacking coffees, you're stacking the days, you're borrowing energy from the day before, and then boom, it hits you and you just cannot keep moving. And then you have to have that day off, or you have that day where you want to be productive, but you cannot physically concentrate. And then I've done the whole thing where I'm go to the gym 5 days a week. I felt really good. I've been eating like relatively well. Not tracking it, not looking really too much into things, but I haven't been making the progress that I've wanted. Like I remember at the beginning, at one point, about 2 years in, I'd made 3 years in, I mean it's a bit further than that, but I'd made decent progress, but hadn't really continued making the progress that I wanted. And that's from a lack of change in my, like the way I was doing things. Because if you keep doing the same thing that hasn't got you the progress that you want, you'll keep getting that progress that you don't want to get. And like, who's trained more than 1 year here? Put your hand up. Okay, awesome. Who's trained more than 2 years here? Okay, who's trained more than 3 years here? Okay, awesome. Because by like 2-3 years in, I was a pro bodybuilder. Like just to put that into perspective, how far you can go, how quickly. Okay, and like one of the big things is, and Jack will also fucking slam you on this as well, is actually an identity shift. So I'm going to give you actual concrete advice on what to do and exactly what you need to be doing, etc. But if you don't have this identity shift, you're not going to actually want to put in the effort. Like we did this with Tamir, for example. He didn't believe that he could be the guy that ran a business, but was also in immaculate shape. But then when he looked 30 years in the future and that guy gave him advice, he was in shape, that guy. That 30-year-old was in shape. He wasn't the fat guy that had 10 million in the bank account. He was a shredded guy that had an awesome wife, amazing family, and was actually building a business that had real world impact. So then when you think about that, if you're then not putting in the effort to be that person, you've got disalignment in your goals. Yes, you might be hitting your business goals, but then you're not hitting your personal financial goals. And one thing Charlie Morgan says that I think is really good is you're not trying to build a business, you're trying to build a character. You aren't trying to build $1 million business. You're trying to become the person who could build $1 million business. And that massively ties back to being Lewis Hamilton, being the race driver, not focusing on the Ferrari. And one of the biggest ways to actually not have an identity shift, and like once you shift your identity to have like basically, and I'll go into a bit more how to do this, once you shift your identity or you know the identity you want to become, you need to ensure that you're not destroying your self-belief system. Imagine I said to Jacques, like, let's go for coffee tomorrow at 10, yeah? Jacques turns up to coffee at 10. I'm like, actually, no, I don't want to go to coffee at 10, but I'm not going to message Jacques. And I don't turn up. He's going to be like, what the fuck, I'm here at 10. I said, no, we'll go tomorrow, Jacques. And then I do that every day for a week. Eventually, he's going to be like, fuck Ned, I'm not turning up for coffee. And this is what you guys are all doing to yourself. This is what I do to myself. You say you're going to wake up this time. You say you're going to do this. You say you're going to make this progress. But if you're consistently not doing that, you and your identity, you're starting to believe that you can't be the person that takes the actions. And you might think, oh, okay, but that applies to my physical self. No, because you are the founder. You are one. Your mindset is a single identity. So if you don't take the actions on the things in your personal life, you might avoid those hard, difficult actions within your business life. Okay, so the adaptive shred performance system. That is basically my unique mechanism, but that is basically how we train people to allow entrepreneurs to get in amazing shape while still focusing on the business and building out their life in a way that they want to without becoming just a gym bro, and actually getting in a position where they can get in better shape but put more into the business. Because if you can become a better founder, you can put more energy into your business and you can give better results to your clients, the people you work with, and people in your business. And I could go into like way more detail about this, but I'm just going to jump straight in to actually how we do this. There's a few different things. You've got Tamir here. First thing is like actually finding the workout plan that suits you. And like, for example, you're training 6 days a week. But even if you guys are training a lot and you're doing it consistently, if what you're doing consistently isn't getting you the results you wanted, there is something going wrong that you need to change. Because like, would you guys agree that if you stay on the same thing that isn't getting you the change you want, you will never get that change? Okay, cool. Tough crowd then. Like for example, this is Harry. He did a 6-day split and he just had slightly more time than other people. So he was able to work out 6 days a week, but the guy benches fucking absolutely tons and is a massive nut. And then most of the guys train like 4 to 5 days. And what you want to look at is like we did with Tamir, is really look over your schedule, think about what you can fit in, and whatever you do, you need to tie it back to this. So you need to make sure that you can make the promise to yourself about going to the gym. And actually, if you keep yourself or have someone keep you accountable or you stay consistent, not break that promise. So the easiest way to be able to break that promise is say, I'm going to start going 6 days a week. But then you fucking look at your calendar and it's not possible for you to go 6 days a week. So the first thing you need to do is actually find a workout plan that fits for your calendar. And like for Tamir, he has such a busy, hectic schedule. If we did 4 or 5 days a week, yes, we could make that work. But his changes so much week on week that it means we have no flexibility. So we've actually done 3 optimized workouts that then if he misses one, he can put them later on. So you need to make sure you look at that. And obviously don't be like, oh, I don't have time, I'll do like 2 workouts. Try and fit in as many as you can. But if you can fit in 3, that's fine. The second thing that you need to do is basically build your workouts based on volume and build your workouts based on muscle groups. Like a really easy way to look at this, if I put it in basic form, because I haven't got tons and I've got to go through more stuff, is do 2 exercises per muscle group. Let's say you do a push day. You do 2 chest, 2 shoulders, 2 triceps. You do a back day. You do 2 back, 2 biceps. You might want to do, and then you could do like 2 shrugs or 2 like other movements hitting different parts of your back. If you do like a leg day, you want like 2 quads, 2 hamstrings, 2 calves. So it's like a really easy way to look at that. But then you've also got different splits. So let's say you do 4 days a week. You can, dependent on the person, let's say Tamir was like, no, I don't give a fuck about my legs. I just want to get a jacked upper body. You could do push, pull, legs, upper body, because then he's got much more upper body volume than he has got leg volume. And then let's say you had 6 days a week. You could either incorporate cardio into that. So you did 2 days cardio and then do a 4-day like actual workout split, or you could just do 6 days of actual gym. In terms of volume, so you could do it 2 ways. So if you want to shorten your workouts, depending on it, what you can do is your compound lifts, you can do 2 sets, and your isolations, you can do 3. Because I'm not going to go into detail on that. It just, you stimulate the bigger muscles quicker, basically.
That's a good question for you actually, but when you train legs, does that not release anabolic hormones?
Yeah.
So by training legs, by default, the rest of your body gets bigger?
Not quite to that extent. Like if you just train legs, you wouldn't like fucking turn up like looking massive on the top half. But it does, it has huge anabolic effects. So like you train legs and then it releases certain hormones. What you guys like are doing, like even now, sitting, just going outside, your body's completely always regulating and releasing hormones depending on what you're doing. So it's like, yeah, you might think training arms is gonna put you in a really good position. That's why I said with Tamir, like one of the best workouts for him would be a 4-day split. I still said legs. Because actually if you just completely skip legs, it depends at the time. You might be right at the start, you don't need that. You might have enough testosterone, etc., to just go straight on all upper body like we're doing with Siggy. But like after a month, we'll then switch that to legs because then you've built a better foundation. But yeah, that's true. That is true. Okay, so a bit about supplements. I just kind of went into the basics here of supplements, but a really good morning stack I would say to do is creatine, omega-3, vitamin D3 with K2 and B complex vitamins. And there's multiple reasons behind this. But I'd say the biggest one that you need to be doing is creatine. Like over the long term, if you want to improve your mental clarity, you want to improve your performance in the gym, and you want to actually fucking basically just improve the athletic performance and mental clarity and your productivity over the long term, then creatine is basically essential for that. Like so, and it is one of the most researched supplements in terms of the benefits to side effects. And then there's vitamin D3 with K2, which is really good for testosterone levels and all those sort of things, but we'll go into that more in a second. And then the next really important thing, and this is really, really key, it's something that I run through with all the people I train basically straight away, is you need to optimize your sleep, because a lot of you guys here, you're limited on how much sleep you can get. So like, let's say like you've got 7 hours of sleep a night. You're working all the way up to the end and in the morning, and you can't increase your sleep. Okay, there's 2 ways to do this. Like Alex Ramosi says, like, get to bed on time and wake up on time. Like, and that is gonna mean that you're getting enough sleep per day. But if you can't necessarily always do that, because as entrepreneurs, we always have those fucking days where you're in the fucking flow and you're just like getting stuff done and you go to bed late. But then in that point, you need to make sure you're getting deep sleep, because when you have a lack of deep sleep, you get these 2 waste products build up in your brain. And these waste products, they stack in your brain. They're these proteins that literally stack. And have any of you guys ever had that feeling where you're trying to work, but your brain literally feels mentally like almost like you can't press the right keys on your thing, like you just can't do it? Who's had that? Okay, and what would you say the effect of it is when you're trying to work?
As entrepreneurs, we're thinkers, so we make money by thinking, thinking what we're gonna work on, communicating to clients, and also in communication. And then it just feels like you can't think clearly, so you can't speak clearly, so you can't get any results.
Yeah. What happens to the founder?
You fuck up or crash.
Yeah, you fucking crash. You put that guy that's had lack of deep sleep in a Ferrari, smack him on the racetrack, and he's fucking dead. And it's the same with your business. If you stack that up long enough, you're gonna die. Or you're just not gonna be in the same position as someone that is locking in their sleep, like Alex Ramosi, like Charlie Morgan. And you're not gonna make the progress that they make, which in my eyes is kind of like dying anyway. Because we all wanna get that like fast lifestyle. We all wanna be these guys, basically. Build our own life from it. So yeah, basically the important thing of it is it reduces your athletic performance, it messes up your muscle memory, it messes up your like ability to predict the future, it messes up your like cognitive function, your memory in the short term, your reaction time, and then also really affects your growth hormones and immune system. So like if you get that lack of sleep, you'll find you'll probably get ill. And also that will then affect your progress in the gym, it'll affect your like hormone balance, and people always look for higher testosterone, this and that, I'm gonna go into this. But actually, if your hormones are imbalanced and like your body's going fucking crazy all the time, your testosterone will be lower. So like a lot of these things, it's like, okay, everyone's focusing on how to increase their testosterone, but everyone every day is just decreasing it. So like, let's just focus on how to not decrease it, and then your testosterone will be like a fucking caveman. And cavemen, we're literally ruthless killers. And trust me, you're gonna feel like a fucking G. For example, here as well, to give you a few ways to fix it, like me and Siggy, we had a really basic one. We had our mouth tape on last night. Like even getting deeper breathing going will put you in a more like tranquil state to sleep. Screen filters on your laptops if you're working late. Yeah, I'm not gonna stop an entrepreneur from fucking working on their business, because that's then me taking them away from the thing. I'm not gonna say do a 2-hour bed routine like some of these other fitness coaches, but you can do things to allow yourself to get better sleep whilst being that fucking hustler that is the founder that builds the business. So screen filters on your phone, screen filters on your laptop, sleep mask. Even if you have a little dot in your room that's red and the whole room is pitch black, you will not get as much deep sleep as if you have a sleep mask on. Unless your room's completely black out, buy a fucking sleep mask. And there's a ton more things, but I won't go into them, they're the key ones. And then also supplements, obviously. So nutrition, this guy, I just whipped up a load of photos of foods that I've eaten recently. But like nutrition is, people overcomplicate it, but it's also key. It's quite obvious, like who thinks a chocolate bar is better than a banana? Yeah, who thinks a banana is better than a chocolate bar? Yeah, fucking come on guys, like, it's kind of obvious this shit is. But the key thing is with nutrition is that you want to get a balance of stuff. So you've got vitamins, minerals, but then you've also got your macronutrients. So you've got protein, carbs, fats, and you've got your fibers and all those sort of things if we go into a bit more detail. But what you want to do is have like a high protein, and this is the basics of it, and it depends on the person, like a high protein. The rest you want healthy fats, and then you also want some good carbs. So like, for example, a good example of this is like here. I could have more veg with this, and I could put this maybe with, I could have fruit after, which would be ideal, but I've got healthy fats with the eggs, healthy fats with the avocado, beef, which is good for protein and healthy fats, and then I've got the veg. So even though there's not much carbs in there, I'll get a few carbs through the avocados, not many. But then like if you go to here, this is more of like a morning thing. Let's say you've gone on a run, you've depleted your carbs, but then you're gonna go do some work. You don't want to go and have some cereal, or you don't want to go and have like, I don't know, there's a bunch of things you could go and eat, like even like that white bread. this morning, I would eat that stuff. But I'm not going to do it all the time, and I'm especially not going to do it when it's an important thing for me that I'm going into. Like you're trying to do deep work, for example. You don't want to then go do that, because what happens is your body's constantly regulating its like blood sugar levels. And when you eat like something like white bread, the reason why they serve it at the beginning of restaurants is your blood sugar spikes, it drops, and not only can you eat way more, but you have the feeling of hunger that you eat way more. And it's if you're in those sort of feelings where you're on a drop, you're not going to be in a state where you can just actually smash down with work. So yeah, what you want to do is like, for example, here, underneath here is just literally porridge, and then I've got bananas, berries, and mango. But you can keep this stuff simple, guys. It doesn't have to be complicated. This took me like 10 minutes to make. Okay, so testosterone, going back to, Jack, what was your question again? Because I'll answer this here.
What not to do that fucks up your sleep?
So a lot of things, like caffeine, for one. Like I see people drinking caffeine. People drinking caffeine past 6. Smoking, like really late, or nicotine really late. I actually think that if you are someone that smokes or you do nicotine, the best thing you can do is like stop caffeine at 1 or 12. And then if you need a little boost again to then work, is just focus on like nicotine gum, like snus or smoking. Obviously it's not ideal, but if you feel like you need that boost, because some people do, to work, you're better off cutting out the caffeine at 1 and then going into nicotine, because the half cycle of it is a lot shorter, so it won't affect you for as long. But like a big thing is like, for example, chronic stress. A few things that are going to put you in balance and reduce your testosterone. Chronic stress, sleep deprivation, excessive alcohol consumption, sedentary lifestyle. And this is a big thing a lot of entrepreneurs have.
What does that mean?
Sedentary, like always sitting, like not being active. And I do the same. I spend a lot of time on calls, like with the people that I train. I spend a lot of time building out the business. And you need to make sure that which is why like supplements and other things, small habits in your lifestyle come into play. If you take like vitamin D, for example, with K2, even if you are sedentary, that's going to help, because you're going to be getting less sun than you need. If your vitamin D is low, then it has this huge effect on your hormones, which then decreases your testosterone. So if you have these things, it's not going to mean that you've necessarily got low testosterone, but you're then going to probably have to do stuff to then overcome it. And then processed sugary foods, overtraining, excess body fat, environmental toxins, and smoking. And overtraining, everyone thinks they're overtraining. Like, you're not overtraining unless you're like an Olympic athlete. And like, if you think about Olympic athletes, they train 3 times a day and they still manage to not overtrain. A big thing is as well, if you're not training, when you train, you release hormone, you basically release a lot of chemicals and stuff into your body that will boost your testosterone, as well as regulate a lot of other stuff in your body. Training is super fucking important. We're not built to not train. Like, it's actually an essential within our life. As cavemen, we'd be doing it regularly. Our bodies actually kind of function around this physical movement of sports. Like, whether it's weight training, whether it's running, you actually need to be doing something. Guys and girls, but especially guys. And then how to like actually improve your testosterone, looking like fucking Andy Elliott, absolutely jacked. He's probably on TRT though. Is like improve your sleep and circadian rhythm, get more deep sleep, get more REM sleep. Stress control, like actually if you're in chronic stress, and that's probably because as a founder, you're not aligned personally with yourself, you're probably like overly focusing on the business. And that is going to cause you to burn out. It's going to cause you to be stressed. And if you're a fucking low test founder, you're not going to be waking up in the morning thinking, let's fucking attack the day. Like, if you've got tons of tests, you're going to be more focused on your goals, because that's what happens. The more testosterone you have, the more you want to go and achieve stuff in life, which is why people that actually are on enhancements, they can go to bed at like 3 a.m., wake up at like 6 a.m. and still feel like they want to conquer the world. Like, I've got friends that are fucking on them, so.
How many hours before sleep would you stop drinking coffee?
Like, no, I would give it 8 hours, so probably stop at about, I would stop for you like 2. It's a stimulant, strong stimulant as well. Nicotine's a very strong stimulant. These are all stimulants. Caffeine, nicotine, all these sort of things. Like, as entrepreneurs, people like stimulants. Your brain, when you have nicotine, is going boom, boom. All your dopamine receptors are like shooting off a machine gun. And it's the same when you have a coffee. The reason why we're all addicted to these things is because we're avoiding so many other things in life. Because we're saying, no, we're not we're not going to party. No, we're not going to do this. Yeah, we're going to sit inside. So your brain wants to be super stimulated because we're all those guys that like, we want to achieve more. We want to do this, that. We're super high dopamine guys. Let's be honest, like we're doing so much that your brain is trying to get some stimulation from somewhere, which is why you feel like you want that. And like, if you're feeling like you need that right at the end of the day, it shows that there might be something slightly off that is making you feel like you need that stimulation, as well as obviously being on nicotine for a while. But because I've been in that position in the past, it's definitely not good. So what you're doing is you're just giving your brain a temporary stimulation, and with nicotine it might last 2-3 hours, but the first hour is not going to be ideal. So I was going to say, if you're going to do it before bed, I'd do it at least an hour before, because then after an hour you at least have it'll be half.
What do you think about eating before bed?
The thing is, like, you don't want to, it depending on the person, you don't want to over optimize for stuff, like, because it's going to get too complicated, and then you're going to have the founders then going to become the fucking granny from over optimization, because there's going to be too much stuff. But eating before bed, obviously you want to ideally eat an hour or two before you go to sleep, because you're going to sleep better, because otherwise all the food's going to be digesting, and then your body's not going to be able to shut your body off, because what happens is when you sleep and get really deep REM sleep, your body kind of shuts off. Basically your body goes into like this relaxation, like unactive state, and that won't be able to happen if it's trying to digest all the food. So it will just keep you more awake. That's basically it. One of the ways that I like to do this is like, once you figure out these things and once you look at these things, is a really good thing to do is, and I just built this on a load of guys' schedules, but I kind of do this with the people that I train. It depends on the person. Like to me, I've done this with a bit more. Jack, I've done this with a bit less. Like Jacques, we're building this out a bit more. But it all really massively depends on the person. Is actually kind of like build out kind of what their day looks like, so you can build out what they need to do. And like, for example, this is just an example one. It's like in the morning at 7:30, morning supplements, wake up protocols, deep work at 8, gym at 10:30, actually a high impact breakfast at 12:30, client and sales calls, so you do caffeine and L-theanine, because that puts you in a deeper state whilst being able to be relaxed. If you mix the two, it puts you in more of a tranquil focused state, because the caffeine gives you the spike, the energy, it blocks your adrenal system, and then the L-theanine puts you in a more like relaxed state. It's just basically a supplement that it puts you in like, it kind of almost has the opposite effects of caffeine. So if you just take it on its own, how you'll feel is just very like almost relaxed, and in the position you'll be able to work, but you just be in a very like relaxed state of work. But if you mix it with coffee, then you have the adrenal system blocked to make sure you haven't got fatigue, and then you're in that really relaxed state. Then you feel like you have some alertness, but you're not getting consistently distracted by all the things around you. So like lunch, go for a 15-minute walk. It's really important to get these small walks in, especially if you're doing deep work. Like a really good reset is by going on a walk. It's going to clear your brain and then allow you to get back in. Like you have to think, if you can get 3 hours of deep work done in the day, how much more are you going to get fucking done? Because you actually crack out those tasks that you need to do. So then if you get the 3 hours of deep work in by 12, let's say, and then you can have the whole rest of the day to be like, okay, fuck, now I can actually think, because I've done these things, I can think about where I can grow, what else I can do. You're going to progress 10 times more. But like what's happening is actually anxiety doesn't come from having too much to do. It comes from having too much to do and avoiding the things that you know you need to do. That's from Jeff Bezos. And if someone like fucking Jeff Bezos who founded Amazon says that, I believe it must be fucking true. So, and then you then go into stuff like tracking and updating your business, a quick meal here because you want to go back straight into the business things, high protein, high fats, complex carbs. By complex carbs, I mean not simple carbs, not like a croissant, stuff like that. And then dinner, high protein, medium fats, low carbs, because you don't need too many carbs in the evening. It all depends on the person. You don't have to be too strict on this. And then sleep 10 to 12 and do some deep sleep protocols. And the next thing is like, consistently taking action becomes one of the most important things. So if you have the perfect workout plan, the perfect supplement plan, the perfect nutrition plan, but you have a massive lack of consistency and you're only doing it like 2 days of the month, you're going to get slow results. If you have the perfect supplement plan, the perfect nutrition plan, the perfect workout plan, all the perfect habits, and you're doing them like every now and then within the week, you're going to get medium results. You'll probably get the same results as someone following a shit plan and going more. But then if you follow the perfect workout plan, the perfect supplement plan, the perfect nutrition plan, and you actually stay consistent to it, you'll get fast results. So what this means is like, it is about consistency 100%. It's about having the identity of someone that builds a business and gets in amazing shape and can perform like the actual race driving founder. But it's also about following the right things so that when you're in the gym and when you're like in your day-to-day life, you're setting yourself up to succeed. You're setting yourself up to have energy, to wake up in the morning and feel good, to work and be in a deep state process, like deep flow process, to go to the gym, have the energy to smash a workout in, actually hit a good amount of volume, etc., and actually get the most out of that workout. And then how to execute this on your own life. So firstly, you need to identify the 2.0, the future, basically just the future version of you. This is super important because if you don't know the person you want to become, like when me and Tamir were on a call and we were struggling with getting him accountable, which he now super is we actually had to frame the person he wants to become and get his 30-year-old self to step into the room that he was in then and actually give the advice that that 30-year-old version of him would be. Because the future version of you, you need to know what he looks like. You need to know his actions he takes. You need to know his beliefs. You need to know like even how much money he makes or like the sort of person he is so that you can start stepping forward to be that person. Because you might be thinking like, oh, I want to get rich and I want to do all this. And then you might be also thinking the future version of you is in amazing shape. He looks like Andy Elliott. He's absolutely dialed with that. He gets a lot of respect when he just meets people, even if they don't know his wealth. And then you're not then taking the action in the gym with your nutrition and your supplements to be that person. That means there's a disalignment in your thing. So that's then going to affect your business. And then after that, you need to evaluate the current situation you're in. What are your actions that you're taking every day? What are your beliefs? What is your identity? Like, who are you now? And like, if you know exactly the person you are now, the beliefs, identity, and the actions you're taking, you can then look at that 2.0 version of you and think about the steps you need to take to merge that. Okay, and then you need to figure out what actions you need to take. So do you need accountability? Do you need a new workout plan? What's going on with nutrition? What's going on with your supplements? What's going on with your mindset, your sleep? Have you done any time hacking to, like, for example, getting in deep work so that you can actually, if you basically do 3 hours of deep work in the day, you're going to spend probably 2 hours less. Instead of doing 5-6 hours of average work, 3 hours of deep work is going to save you 3 hours because you're going to get all those tasks then done. So you can then almost time hack, I call it, so then you can save the time to go to the gym while still getting as much done because you don't want to get less done. So then you need to figure out what actions you need to take. And then you need to take some fucking action. This is one thing I get to do. So like I track everything of the people that I train so then we can see if I know they're not going up, I know that they're not pushing. Because if I can see everything they've done, I can see that over a period of time, then if they're not progressive overloading, they're not pushing because you don't progressive overload unless you're training hard enough, which is why it's so important to do that. Like we can even, Siggy, you mentioned this, like I wasn't training hard enough, you knew that. And then once you committed to yourself, I can see that Siggy's been training fucking hard. Like he goes in the gym and actually smashes it now. And that's because he has someone checking on that. But you can also do that for yourself. And so that now we're going to be doing a group workout. Basically what we're going to be doing, I'm going to split you all up into different teams. There's going to be leaders of different teams. We're going to smash a workout. You're going to be able to see a bit inside of what it looks like to train like a fucking G and be that founder you want to be. Hope that was all good and awesome. Good shit.